Yo, 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 what is up? Peace and richest blessings, sending you love, sending you good vibes. Welcome back to the Burnell Washburn podcast. It's a beautiful day to be alive, feeling inspired. Wanted to jump on here and share an inspiring story with you. It's actually a snow day here in Salt Lake City right now. There's like 3 feet of fresh snow on my driveway and it's still coming down. First time I've seen them close the school since like the early 90s, really. Crazy. So I'm indoors getting some work done today, feeling good, and wanted to jump on here and record a mini mobile episode for you. We'll be back with the high quality new podcast setup very soon. My mic went out and we're getting a whole new setup. I'm going to be moving into a podcast studio where I'll be able to interview guests and just bring you a way higher quality episode. And I have so many amazing guests lined up for season 2, which is just right around the corner. So huge shout out to everyone helping this thing grow. All the Patreon supporters supporting me with $5, $10, $20 a month. It just means so much. It goes a long way to help me live out my soul's mission, live out my purpose, which is to inspire, to uplift, to teach, to help people thrive. I really believe that heaven on earth is a frequency we can all tap into, and I believe that that's part of my divine mission and reason for even being alive, is to activate that within myself and help people activate that frequency within them and just spread good vibes and help people enjoy life more, because I just love life. Not every single moment, obviously, but even the most challenging, gnarliest moments I just still love and appreciate. And I think that perspective is something that is a gift that I've been able to cultivate through my experience, and it's just such a blessing and a pleasure and an honor to be able to use that in ways that helps other people. And you guys are genuinely helping me. You're helping me live out my purpose, and you're helping me help others, and I hope you're getting value from this. And I really appreciate you investing the time in your mindset, investing in your soul's vibrancy, and investing in the expansion of your being. There's so much that we can all learn from each other. So I really appreciate all the Patreon supporters, everyone that's tuning in and listening, that's sending me messages and telling me that you're getting value from this, or just spreading it, sharing the link out. This thing keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger, and I really just can't thank you guys enough. It means so much. It's so much to be able to live my purpose and have good people like you support it and help it grow and expand. Like, it just feels really good. So thank you. I really appreciate y'all. Let's jump into today's episode. I have an inspiring story that really, really made me think. When I first started hearing this story, I was like, wow. Often we're so hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up, or we should all over ourselves. We think we should be somewhere that we're not. We should be further along than we are, and there's so much pressure that we put on ourselves that's just really made up for no reason. We're being too hard on ourselves. And if you listen to my episode called Befriending the Inner Critic, it's like probably episode number 30 something or around there, in season 1, and that one is all about the voice in your head that's always criticizing you and judging you and being hard on you and wishing you and like wanting you to do better. It's actually coming from a good place. So you befriend that critic inside you, and you just don't let him run the show. You recognize, oh, this is the part of me that wants me to thrive and wants me to be better. Let's just not let him be the only voice talking, and let's remember how great we already are, and just remember we're always on path. We're always exactly where we need to be. A lot of our suffering comes from thinking that we should be somewhere other than where we are. Right here, right now, right exactly where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. Your ego or your mind might have thought you wanted to be somewhere else. And that's where your suffering's coming from, because that ego's looking at your current situation and judging it. Or you're comparing to other people of where they are when they're on a completely different path. Just because someone else has a house at age 24 and all this money, and you're 34 and you can't even pay your rent or something like that, doesn't mean that they're better than you, or it's just you're on different journeys. So we got to not compare ourselves. They say comparison's the thief of joy, and it's so true. Let's honor where we're at. Let's recognize that we're here for a reason, and everything's unfolding in divine timing and divine perfection, exactly how it's supposed to be. And it's okay to want to be better and befriend that inner critic, and that inner critic does just want the best for you. It's sometimes just a little harsh, and we can get down on ourselves so easily. So this story will help remedy that mindset. When I started diving into stories like this, it was like a sigh of relief. I just had so much less pressure on me, and just realized, like, every time I remember stories like this, I'm like, okay, everything is working out, and I'm gonna be successful and everything, and I already am successful to different degrees, but my vision keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I'm gonna keep inching towards that, and my life's gonna keep getting better and better. And I don't want to ever reach my potential, because that would mean my potential is like capped, that it's at a set point that ends somewhere. And I know the truth is that we all have infinite, limitless potential, so I'm not trying to reach it. I just want to keep expanding and evolving it. And I got to be careful not to be too harsh on myself, because I do have such a big vision. So it's easy for me to look at, the bigger your vision is, the bigger the gap is between where you currently are and where you want to be. And so the more you can judge yourself or criticize yourself for not being there yet, or, feeling like you're not making as much progress as you should be, or as much progress as someone else is. And I just started looking at stories of people that became successful later in life, and that really helped me out. And just following other success stories in general really, really, really helps me out all the time. I listen to hours and hours of podcasts every single day, when I'm cleaning my house, when I'm getting ready, when I'm driving anywhere, when I'm hiking half the time. I'm just listening to inspiring stories and content that helps me expand my mindset and grow and keep things in perspective. And so it's so easy to think everyone's like this overnight success, or to look at, like, the media likes to put a lot of attention, or society in general puts a lot of attention on people that are successful young, like all the cats that are really young and successful, like musicians and famous celebrities that are like in their early 20s. And so then we think, oh, if we're not successful by that age, then we're never going to make it ourselves. When the truth is, lots of people don't find their calling or their purpose or their passion until way late in life. And I don't think we have one purpose or one passion. I think there's multiple different chapters. Like there's a big chapter in my life where skateboarding meant as much or more to me than all the music and all this podcasting and all this stuff means to me now. You know what I mean? So like your stuff's going to evolve. I was so passionate about that, and now it's just like I barely even skate. I still love it, but not my passion anymore. So that's always going to evolve. And people find their different callings at different parts of their path. They might be on a certain path for decades and then switch something up. Like I just read a story about a famous painter that didn't start painting until he was 82. 82 years old, starts painting, never painted in his life, becomes like world famous and gets his stuff in galleries and all this stuff. And like one of the world's most famous chefs, I forgot her name, I think it might be Julia Child or something, I can't remember, but she did, like one of the most famous chefs in the world didn't start cooking until she was like 50 something. And now she's got all the cooking shows and like one of the biggest celebrity chefs in the world, whatever. So there's lots of stories like that, and they can help ease your all this like shoulding that we should all over ourselves, we can ease that tension where there's this gap of where we want to be and where we are, and we're all stressed about it and anxious and worried about it and down on ourselves, or even worse, we lose hope. We think if it hasn't happened, it's never going to happen. And a lot of times we're addicted to creating our future from the familiar feeling of the past. So whatever life was like for us in the past, we just assume, we have this bias in our head that thinks, okay, that's how the future is going to be. When really it could be so much different, so much better. At any given moment, our lives could change. We're only, you're only 5 feet away from gold at any given time. You're only one song away if you're a musician. A lot of musicians say that. One song away from blowing up. You could be completely nobody and then drop a track tomorrow, post it on SoundCloud, and it gets thrown on the right playlist, and it starts blowing up, and all of a sudden you got all these shows pop in, and you get signed, and you're on a crazy new level because of one song when you never made money off it in your life, and now you're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars for it. Like, that happens all the time. Actors, you meet the right person, and the right thing could just shift at any moment. So we have to get beyond what the past was like and start creating from possibility rather than creating from circumstance. That's one of the biggest mindset shifts that I've made. Is I used to always try to create my life based on what I thought was possible, or like whatever I thought was possible was based on what was currently happening or what had happened in the past. If you've only made, the most you've ever made is $30,000 a year, it's hard for you to think that like next year you could make 10 million. But like the quantum leaps like that happen all the time. It's 100% possible. So it's so much easier for our brain to think, okay, well, I'll probably make 30,000, or maybe I can make 35,000. Like, we have these small increments of going up, and we think that however the past was or however things are now, that's how it's going to keep being. Especially when we're down and we're in a negative mindset. When we're depressed and dope and we don't have all the happy chemicals running through us, we think that's how it's always going to be. We kind of lose hope, and we think, this is my life now. This is how things are. And we got to remember that all the emotions and that all this stuff is temporary and always flowing and always moving, so don't get, too lost up in it. It's really helpful to give yourself just a little bit of a break sometimes, and still like strive to be the very, very best person you could possibly be in every moment. But don't be too hard on yourself, because for me, like, I thought since I was like 19, I said I was going to be a millionaire by age 30. And that's still possible. I'm not 30 yet, but I'm getting close, and, it would definitely be a huge quantum leap from where I'm at. There was a lot of tension there for a minute of like, oh, I'm not going to get that. That's not going to happen. And I failed, and I'm no good, and like just being so hard on myself, because especially when I see other people that are super successful that are younger than me, well, if I was going to be successful, then it would have already happened for me, because look, I'm already this age, and like, especially at the hip-hop game, like, I'm 29, and I see rappers blowing up when they're 19, 20, 21, and I think, if I haven't blown up like crazy yet, and I've been blessed to get paid to do what I love and travel around the world and have some level of success with it, but I haven't blown up to like a world global scale necessarily. Even I do have fans around the globe, but you know what I mean. So it's easy for me to look at these cats that are younger than me and say, well, it's never going to happen for me. But, 2 Chainz didn't make it till he was like 36. And there's other artists that have made it even later than that. And besides the point, that's not, making it is all relative and perspective anyway. But there's so many people, especially entrepreneurs and artists and people of all types, that become successful really late in life, and we don't hear those stories as much. And we hear the overnight success stories, or we think it's an overnight success because we don't hear the whole stories. So today I want to tell you an inspiring story about a little girl over in the UK. So this little girl was born a girl, and her parents wanted a boy. So they didn't disown her, but they just never fully treated her right. They never really let her be feminine like she truly was. They kind of just, she grew up feeling really lonely. She felt unloved. She felt like she was never enough. She just had a really rough childhood. So she grew up, and all throughout elementary and junior high and high school, she was lonely. When she was 17, she applied to a bunch of colleges and didn't get in. She got rejected. So she didn't go. And she just had a really struggling early 20s, and her mom was sick, and eventually when she was 25, her mom died. And she had to watch her mom die of this horrible disease, and that was really hard, and she kind of left with unresolved emotions and things like that. Never really felt like she fully connected with her mother in the right way, and it was a rough time. And then the very next year, she gets pregnant and has a miscarriage, and that's just super traumatic, breaks her heart. Your mom dies, and then right after, as you're basically grieving from that, because I lost my mom too, and you don't get over that stuff, really ever, but definitely not easily. And, that's just a traumatic thing to have a miscarriage right after that. So her life is just going down and down and down and down. Age 27, things finally start looking up a little bit. She gets married, but then her husband starts abusing her. And she just has this really horrible breakup, a short-lived marriage. She ends up getting divorced. Husband leaves her with nothing. She's a single mother. Oh, so and then she had another kid after the miscarriage that did survive. And she loved this kid more than anything. And her husband left, and all she had was her and this kid. So she was a single mother with no money, in poverty, and just on the verge of being homeless. Like, just scraping by, going weeks at a time without eating. She would eat just nothing but some peanuts because she wanted to make sure her daughter ate, so she would give the food that she could get for her daughter and, kind of go hungry herself. So she was basically starving, on the verge of going homeless, just barely keeping this place afloat, barely paying rent at this, really terrible apartment. So after she gets divorced and is raising this kid, she gets diagnosed with severe depression at age 28. So at age 28, she's just so depressed, down and out. It looks like her life's never getting better. Age 29, she's still just a single mother. She's living on welfare. She needs government assistance just to survive. And she basically has, no friends and family, and just life is hard. Except for her daughter. That was her life. The only thing that got her through these hard times was that she had a passion. She had a hobby that she liked, that she just really felt called to do. It just in her heart, she just wanted to write. She just loved writing. So despite the depression, she would try to write when she could, and she actually tried to commit suicide at age 30. And the only thing that really kept her from doing that was her daughter. And then she channeled all of that into her writing. When she would write, that was the only time she felt free from this horrible life. That was the only time that she really felt inspired and excited about anything. So she kept writing. and channeled all of her energy into that. At age 31, she published her first book. And, it wasn't successful, but she got her first book out there. And by age 35, she had 5 books out and became the author of the year. At age 42, she dropped a new book that sold 11 million copies on the first day. That book was called Harry Potter. This woman was J.K. Rowling, and she became the first woman, the first author ever to become a billionaire from writing books. Now she's in her 50s. She goes around inspiring people, writing, doing what she loves, and she actually lost her billionaire status by being too generous. She actually gave away so much of her wealth, and she's still insanely wealthy, hundreds of millions of dollars, but she gave away so much wealth because she's a philanthropist and she's giving back because she knows what it's like to struggle and suffer, and it almost brings tears to my eyes, or what did bring tears to my eyes when I first heard this story of just, wow. Look at this woman who, I'm only 29. When she was 29, she was on welfare, on the verge of suicide, divorced, lost her mom, miscarriage or whatever, and look at her now, she's a billionaire, killing it. That gives me so much hope. I was like, okay, all this stuff can still happen for me, so it can happen for you. What do you want? Do you want to be, don't think about where you are or where you've been, think about where you want to go. Honor where you're at, and, realize that anything's possible. From rock bottom is one of the best places to build. It is the best place to build a foundation. So I'm looking at that story. It's like I've had multiple friends die from overdose and suicide. I had to watch my mom suffer for years and watch her die. I had a kid unexpectedly, and it's just had a horrible breakup, and I had almost got evicted from my apartment several times. I had my car repossessed. I went through an eating disorder. I went through depression myself. I felt suicidal myself. I had severe stress and anxiety, health issues, injuries, and probably almost as poor as J.K. Rowling was, couldn't even, had to steal to eat on multiple occasions. And just, I've been down in the dumps in my mid to late 20s. And that's not where I thought I would be. But stories like this remind me, yo, it's all possible. And, that's the dark side of my story. That's the harder parts. But you guys have heard some of them. I've also had some amazing times sprinkled in there. I've been touring with my idols and, playing some of the biggest artists in the world and, doing what I love and all sorts of awesome things. But there's also been lots of struggles, falling outs and completely kind of being shunned by lots and lots of most of my family members, and going through extreme loneliness and extreme hardships and all sorts of things, that I don't even really like talking about, but they're parts of my story that I love because they help me grow, they help me have contrast, they help provide compassion. And it's why do you think I'm so inspired to help other people thrive? It's not just because, I said earlier, I live on the heaven on earth frequency now. And I love activating that within people because I've lived in hell on earth too. I know what it's like to just suffer and be lonely and depressed and angry and sad and scared and, all of that. And that's why I want to help people. That's why I want to uplift. That's why I make podcasts like this. That's why I tell stories like this, true stories like this, because I know it can uplift and inspire you. And if you're going through hard times, if you're in some of these times right now, you realize, okay, it's all good. We can all go through this. We can go through this and still be heaven. Burnell's on heaven on earth after just being through all that. Okay, There's hope for me. Okay, J.K. Rowling's a billionaire after living on welfare. Okay, I got this. Oh, 2 Chainz didn't blow up till he was 36. That's cool. That chef didn't, succeed till they start even cooking till they were 50 something. Okay, there's time for me. I don't got to beat myself up. I don't have to be so hard on myself for not having my whole life figured out. Especially as I approach 30 this next year. I'm 6 months away from being 30 years old, which used to seem so old to me. Now it seems super young. I feel way younger than I thought. When I thought 30 was But I had this vision of when I was a little kid, what a 30-year-old was supposed to be. They were supposed to have, be married and have multiple kids and have a nice house and a nice job and steady income and full, financial stability and da-da-da-da. And that's what society, has programmed me and a lot of us to think is what a good 30-year-old is. As if there's some right or wrong way to do life. We're infinite God consciousness in a temporary human experience, living for this brief millisecond on this planet that's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions and millions and millions and millions of years before dinosaurs ever even existed. And then those were around for millions of years before humans ever existed. And then humans come around for 20,000 years or so. We've been here for such a little blip. And yet we have all this pressure on ourselves of what we're supposed to do and what we're supposed to be. Forget the word should, forget the word supposed to, and, tune into what you need and what's right for you in every moment. Rather than being so hard on yourself and comparing yourself to so many people of where they're at and where you think you should be. That's where so much of our suffering comes from. So if we can just embrace where we're at, radical acceptance for the moment that we're in, and recognize that, hey, we can go anywhere from here. Just because my journey's been a certain way doesn't mean it's going to keep on getting worse, or it doesn't mean it's going to keep on being like that, or doesn't mean it's going to only slightly get better. I think that's kind of the trap that I get into, is that I think that I always have hope. And even in my darkest times, I've been suicidal and depressed, but even then there was still little shimmers of hope in the background of someday I might not feel like this, someday life might get better. And the trap that I've fallen into is that I think it's going to only incrementally happen in small ways. It's just going to get a tiny little bit better, every month or every year. It's up, it'll go up a little bit and then down back a little bit and then up a little bit. But overall, it'll keep going up for the most part, just slightly, slowly but surely. And now I'm switching that to let's hockey stick growth, quantum leap this shit, and let's own the fact that I create my own reality and I can have whatever I want within an instant the second I tune into it. So let's take this shit to the moon and level up like crazy. Let's next year could be 1,000 trillion times doper than this year was on so many ways. Like I said a minute ago, we're only one song away, one moment away, one relationship away, one DM away from a completely different life. Especially with the internet these days, we literally are one DM away. Because a lot of major players in the world are checking their own DMs, and you could slide in there with the right thing at the right time and have your life completely changed. And that's or you could record one piece of content on TikTok or something tomorrow that just blows up, it goes viral, and your life's never the same again. And even if it does take a long time to climb out of whatever place you're in to the next journey, even just embrace that and say, I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of this journey. I started embracing rather than resisting, and everything changed. I was resisting where I was at so hard, thinking I shouldn't be where I'm at, especially financially at this age. And a lot of it was judgment from my family, looking down on me oh, Burnell has his head up his ass or his head in the clouds because of where he's at. My dad reminded me, by your age, I already owned a house and had this much and blah, 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 blah. And And it's like, yo, that's awesome for you, bro. I'm on a different path. I have amazing health and awesome friends, and I'm an amazing dad and beautiful experiences. And hey, I'm right where the fuck I'm supposed to be. So back off, yo. Let whoever think whatever even if they do judge you, but just don't be the one judging yourself, you know. And if you are judging yourself, just try to befriend. Okay, that's my ego. That's the part of me that wants me to do better. Okay, thanks for wanting me to do better. I appreciate that. Love you. Thank you. And just, have compassion and kindness with yourself of, hey, I'm on my own journey. I am doing things on my own time. I am carving my own path, and I don't need other people to understand it. I don't need other people to know exactly where I'm going or how I'm getting there or whatever. They'll see, they'll see when they get there or when I get there, and it's like they can think whatever they want in the meantime, and I'm not going to let that drag me down because I know I have conviction in my vision. I have conviction in my heart. I have courage. I have faith. I have this inner knowing. I have a mission to fulfill that's nobody else's mission to fulfill, and it's nobody else's mission to understand even. Not my dad, not my mom, not my brother, not my grandma, not my aunts, not my homies, not my Instagram followers, not my fans. Nobody. Nobody needs to understand it except for me. And I'm going to keep plugging away at my mission, doing the best I can, just like J.K. Rowling did. She kept writing even despite all the emotions. She didn't say, I can't be an author because I'm depressed and suicidal. She said, I'm going to keep writing even though I am depressed and suicidal, I kept making music or trying to. It might have not been the best music, but when I was suicidal and depressed, I kept making music. I haven't stopped making music since I started making music, I've been doing this shit for like 11, almost 12 years now. And professionally for like 7 or 8 years. And I haven't stopped, even when the times have come where I've had no faith in the vision and no success with it, and everything seems to be falling apart, and my whole life seems to be collapsing, and this whole vision just seems so dumb to be chasing. I still had some type of inner voice in my soul that kept just knowing, like, just keep going. And, all my fans and supporters always tell me that, just don't stop, dude, just keep going, man, keep grinding, And, I'm not all about grinding anymore. Now it's more about keep aligning and, taking the inspired action when it feels right, and have the discipline to keep chasing the dream even when you don't feel like it. It's just really interesting to realize that, hey, you don't need to feel good all the time to, like, achieve your vision. Like, J.K. Rowling wasn't necessarily feeling super stoked and feeling like I'm for sure going to make it when she was writing. She just said, I just like writing because I like writing. I don't know if this is ever going to go. I'm depressed and suicidal and on welfare, but hey, at least for a few hours a day when I sit down on my typewriter, I enjoy that. So that's how you got to approach it. Like, just keep, even in the darkest times, if you get any inkling of joy out of your vision, even if it doesn't seem like, or your hobby or your interest or your passion or whatever, even if it doesn't seem like that's ever going to be successful for you. If you love playing guitar, and there might be some days where you think, hey, I'm going to be a world famous guitarist. This is going to be dope. And then other times where you feel like, hey, there's no shot of me, making it actually successful in guitar. Like, it's a fun hobby, but, I'm never going to actually be successful with it. Like, but if you still enjoy it, just keep playing. Just keep strumming, keep improving your craft, and you never know. When you do have those days, I go up and down with my faith in my hip-hop journey sometimes. There's times where I literally feel like this might sound arrogant or whatever, but there's times I literally feel like I am the next Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Logic, whatever, Mac Miller. in such a unique, beautiful way that I'm going to take the whole world by storm with this shit and make the most beautiful music ever. And it's just like, I'm going to blow up and win Grammys and all that. And then there's days, and when I have those days, that's awesome. I go full-fledged and I make power moves and let's go. Then I have days where it could even be the very next day, where I feel like embarrassed for even trying this thing and embarrassed that I've performed in front of people and put out CDs and I have stuff online. I want to go online and delete all of my music because I think it's cringeworthy and I think it's just total trash and there's no way that I'm ever going to be successful. And then I have like in between where like, I don't know, maybe I'll be successful with it, but either way, I don't know. And I just have fun doing it. Like, all right, if I'm enjoying making a beat today, I'll make a beat today. If I enjoy writing a rap today, I'll write a rap today. It's not about the end result. It's about falling in love with the process, enjoying the journey, and just doing what feels good. Creating because it's fun, not because you're going to get a certain result from it. So I think that's partially why, a big reason why J.K. Rowling succeeded with it. Because she had this inkling of hope that she could be a famous writer. But she didn't always believe in that vision. And in the times that she didn't believe in that vision, she still just wrote for fun. She wrote because she enjoyed it, not because she like... there's so many people where they're not going to do it unless it's successful. You know, I've fallen victim to that mentality too. Like, well, if my music isn't like blowing up and really inspiring people, and if I'm not getting millions of plays and stuff, then I might as well not do it. And it's like, that's so silly. If I like doing it, I like doing it. Who cares how many people listen to it or not? And I'm fortunate that, a decent amount of people do listen to it, and that's cool. But that's not why I do it. I'm not doing it to please anyone but myself, and I think that's why I'll inevitably be more successful with it than when I was trying to do it for a certain result. I think J.K. Rowling was just writing because it was saving her soul. It was the inkling of hope that kept her spirit alive in the hardest times. And that's what music has been for me. It's like this thing that, hey, even in the hardest times, I still have my songs, still have my creativity. There's so many days where I had nothing. I might have not even had money to eat, but I was able to write. I was able to make music. And the music's brought me all my favorite people, all my relationships, all my loved ones, like even my daughter, because I met her mom. Her mom found out about me through my music. And it's like, I just believe that if you follow what feels good, the medicine for your soul, it'll lead you to where you're supposed to be. And, maybe it won't be music that ends up turning me into a billionaire, but it'll lead me to the next business idea or the next relationship that does. So remember all these stories when you're struggling or feeling down on yourself. Lots of people succeed way later in life, and lots of people go through a lot of darkness before, it's always the darkest right before the light, right before the breakthrough. It's always just like the hardest right before it gets easier, and it's always gonna feel like it's not working out right before it does. So don't get discouraged too much. Just keep doing what feels good to your soul, and trust that if you are feeling the negative emotions, if you are going through things like J.K. Rowling did, like your mom just died, or you just had a miscarriage, or your husband's abusing you, or you just got divorced, or you got depression right now, or you have some gnarly health issues right now, or nothing's working out, or you're struggling financially like crazy, just remember all of those things that will pass. Just because it's like that now or it's been like that in the past doesn't mean it's going to keep being like that. You could be a billionaire. You could be the healthiest person on the planet. You could be going and inspiring people with this story. Recognize that your story is your biggest gift. All of the hardships and struggles that you've been through are really your biggest blessings. They're going to help. You can use them as tools to inspire and uplift. The hardest thing that you're going through right now might be the most inspiring part of the story that you tell on stage 10 years from now. You might be getting paid a shit ton of money to tell this story later in life. And all the stuff that you've endured will pay off. All the hard work that you put in will pay off. Everything will work out. All of the faith that you've emitted out in your energy field, even when things didn't look like they were working out and you still just kept going and having faith, all of that will pay off. You will be rewarded. Everything will work out exactly how it's supposed to. Just trust, just follow your heart, follow your intuition, and when you need to, go learn from other people's stories, and just remember that like we're all on our different paths, different timelines, and don't get too caught up in comparison and criticism and judgment. Just do the best you can with what you have, and remember, it's all going to be okay. In the grand scheme of things, we're just a little tiny blip, and there's really no way we could fuck it up. There's nothing that we could do or not do in this lifetime that's really going to matter that much in the grand scheme of the universe. Although we are so powerful and there's infinite potential and we could do anything and everything we do matters, it's also true that none of it matters. Like it's all just love, consciousness, and we're going to go back to the same unity of love, energy, and this whole identity of who we think we are is just a made-up figment of our imagination anyway. So let's not take it too seriously and let's have some fun with it. We can be anything we want to be. You can be, do, and have anything in this universe, and you deserve it all. All the stuff you're going through right now is preparing you for what your soul needed to learn, and for ultimately equipping you with the tools that you need to carry out your mission. I honestly believe that my mom dying, getting evicted, sleeping on homies' couches, getting my car repossessed, falling out with my family, struggling with health, all these things that I've dealt with, I'm just so grateful for, because they all made me stronger. They all equipped me with more to give. I have more love now. I have more compassion now. I have more tools now. I have more mindsets. I have more techniques. I have more strategies. I have so many more tools in my toolkit now to deal with those types of things. And now I can help other people deal with those types of things. But if I hadn't gone through all of that, I wouldn't be as valuable to others, and I wouldn't be necessarily, we're all intrinsically valuable, but I wouldn't be necessarily able to help people with those issues if I hadn't gone through it myself. And I wouldn't have this feeling now of strength that I have. I have this feeling of strength that I can just get through anything. I faced my worst fears, and that's what J.K. Rowling was talking about too. And I watched a lot of her speeches and read a lot about her in preparation to tell her story on today's episode. So I just wanted to make sure I had her story straight. And I learned so much from her. And I didn't realize how wise and how dope she is. But she talked about that too, how she faced her worst fears. And then living out her worst fears just gave her this sense of confidence of okay, well, if I can somehow get through this, then I can handle anything. And all right, this is her worst fear growing up was, and her family's worst fear for her was that she would grow up to be poor and lonely and like a single mother, and all of that happened. And she's like, okay, if this is what I was scared of and I can handle that, okay. All right, I can handle anything, cool. For me, my worst fear in life growing up was that my mom would die. And I'm not just saying that. That's literally when I was a little kid growing up, and I could think about the worst possible thing that could ever happen in my life, in the history of my existence, is that my mom would die. And I obviously knew that she was going to die someday, but I always thought I always pictured her being really old, like her just being this wise old lady that lived super, 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 super long. But no, she died young. She died, in her 40s. And it broke my heart, and it was really sad. But there was so much strength on the other side of that. Oh, that was my worst fear? Okay, I can live through that. all right. And then, a lot of my other fears, I was really scared of getting a car repossessed or not having a place to live or being hungry. Like, I think, being hungry was definitely one of my biggest fears too. And I think that's kind of an intrinsic fear that has probably been passed down through generations of lineage and, from way back in the day for like most all of us. Even if the last few generations were abundant, like deeper down in almost all of human beings' history, there's been times of scarcity involving food and stuff. So I think that was one of my biggest fears. And I've dealt with all of that. That's why fasting actually helped me conquer that fear when it's like, oh, I can go 2 or 3 days without any food and feel amazing. Okay, damn. I don't need to freak out so much when I'm hangry for 2 hours. Like, I can relax a little bit because I know it's all going to be good and I'm not going to die. And the more you just face your worst fears, the easier your life becomes. Because you just walk around with this sense of confidence and courage of just like, hey, I can handle stuff. Even if the worst possible thing happens, I know it'll just make me stronger. So right now, after my mom dying, then now I have a daughter, and the worst possible fear is that something would happen to her. And I think about that, and I make peace with that fear often, and it's impossible to even talk about because I'll just break out crying, and my whole heart will freak out. Just even imagining anything would ever happen to her, because she's going to live to be like 300 years old, and her and I are going to live forever, and this will be awesome. But anyway, I have to face the fear of if something did happen to her ever, I would be okay. I'd get stronger from it. I would get so strong from it because losing my mom made me so much stronger. Man, losing her would fucking make me a beast. I would be the most loving, awesome person ever. And, luckily I'm not going to have to deal with that because that's never going to happen. But you got to make peace with the worst case scenarios, and then you have courage then you can live with the best. Once you made peace with the worst, then you can welcome in the best. If you're scared to face the worst, then you're also scared to face the best, and you're going to live in this mediocre middle ground, in this gray area that's not going to be, as rewarding or as fulfilling. So face hard things and just live with confidence, knowing, hey, even if the worst thing does happen, that'll just make me stronger. If you're scared about going homeless or losing your job or breaking up with your significant other, whatever that is that you're worried about, visualize that and make peace with it, and then be grateful that it didn't happen. Be grateful that it's not happening, but really make peace with it and know deep in your soul that you will be okay if that does happen. In fact, you'll be more than okay. You'll be thriving no matter what. Because your inner sense of well-being and thriving is not determined on anything outside of you. It's just a choice. It's just a frequency that you can activate regardless of what happens. I could choose to let someone dying just break me in half, or I could choose to have it make me stronger. It's up to me. And it's okay for it to do both too. Because we're complex like that. It's so valuable to face your worst fears, and it's also so valuable to learn stories like J.K. Rowling's. Just wow, look at all these people that have endeavored hardships and then gone on. I love John Paul DeJorio's story too. I'll probably tell his story on another future episode because his story is really inspiring too, of how he went from poverty to multi-billionaire as well, creating Paul Mitchell Systems and Patron and all sorts of others. And he does all this awesome philanthropy work now and stuff too. But it's I remember hearing his story when I was really poor and I had my daughter and I was feeling really down on myself. I'm a shitty dad because I don't have this crazy abundance to provide, even though my daughter's always been abundantly provided for because I've somehow always done what it takes to make sure she has what she needs. And her mom just takes amazing care of her too, and just keeps her stocked up and on point with anything that she could need. So luckily, that situation is super dope, and never really been worried about it. But there's been times where my ego's been, really bummed, because as a man, you like have all this stigma about being the main provider, and there's times in my daughter's life where I was the main provider, and then there were times where her mom was sort of the main provider in terms of clothes and food and medical expenses and things like that. And it's like that was almost emasculating to me, like going through, oh, I'm not as worthy, I'm not as good of a dad if I don't make more money. Like I have to make more money than the woman does, or else I'm lesser, which is just such a weird masculine ego bullshit paradigm that's fading out, because I think a lot of boss women are on the rise, and it's fucking perfectly awesome for them to make way more than men, and vice versa, and it doesn't matter who makes more or less, whatever, like, or who does the stay-at-home thing, or who works, or who, like, all sorts of things. Like my grandpa was saying, like, I heard my grandpa say, just this is a comparison of times, like how culture has evolved. He was saying, yeah, like I would be embarrassed if my wife had to work, because he worked all the time, but he was like never there for his daughters as much, because he was always off working in some other country for months at a time, making all this money and sending it back, providing for all his daughters and his wife. And back then, that's just kind of what a man was expected to do. A man was expected to, be the sole provider, and then the wife was the caretaker. She cleans and cooks, and now all those gender roles are switching around and reversing, and it's beautiful to see all this consciousness waking up around gender and the illusion of gender and everything. But anyway, that was a long rant, side tangent. I tend to do that, but it's my podcast, so fuck it. I got so down on myself for a while, feeling like I wasn't like the best provider, or I should just go like sell my soul and work some big nice corporate job that pays me super fat so I can like have nicer shit for my daughter, even though she has a hella nice shit and she has more than she could ever need on all levels, on clothes and toys and food and love and attention and everything. And so in my soul, I knew she was fine, but my ego was like worried about what other people were going to think of me. Like, oh, my grandma or my dad or whatever is going to think that I'm not that as good of a dad if I don't have, there was a time where I didn't have a car for a good chunk, a couple of years after my car got repossessed, and I had to take my daughter on the bus everywhere. And I felt embarrassed about that all the time. I felt insecure as fuck every time I got on the bus with my daughter, because even though my daughter loved the bus, as soon as I got a car, she was like, can we take the bus again? Can we just take the bus? It's so much more fun. So little kids are funny like that. Which just goes to show, like, it's little kids know what matters. They're like the adventure and the bonding and all that. They don't give a fuck what kind of car you're in. Whereas like parents think, if they can get this, they can spend all this time away from their kids, so then they can have this nice car, and then they're being a good parent and providing for their kids. Like, that's what my parents did. They, spent all this time, specifically my mom spent all this time working so she could provide nice stuff for us, because she thought that's what we needed, and I'm so grateful for that, because she provided really well for us. But looking back, especially since she died young, like I would have lived in a shack with nothing. We didn't need the nice cars. We could have taken the bus. We didn't need all the extra TVs in every room. We could have just shared one little TV, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm grateful for everything that we had. But it's the bonding that I cared about. It's the bonding that I cared the most about, and the connection and the love. That's what really matters. So little kids know that, and so that's why my daughter enjoyed taking the bus just as much as the car or whatever, because it wasn't about that. So anyway, my ego got all worried about that, and then I heard John Paul DeJorio's story, and it just totally annihilated all of that pressure that I had on myself. Because now he's an amazing dad and billionaire philanthropist and all this stuff. But when his kid was 4, they were sleeping in a motel bathroom illegally with like rats on the floor, like rat poop in the toys and stuff like that. And they were like recipients of like those like Secret Santa or whatever, where you little kids who don't get toys can get hooked up at like the shelters and stuff with a couple toys or whatever. Like, they were recipients of that because he couldn't get his kid a toy on Christmas. And then he became super successful, and now his kid gets to fly around on private jets and whatever. So that story alone just like eased my mind. Like, fuck, I don't even beat myself up about the fact that I'm taking a bus with my 4-year-old, and we got a car now again, which I'm super grateful for. But it's like, I don't need to beat myself up about where I was or where I'm at right now. It's all about where I'm going. And my daughter doesn't give a fuck regardless, as long as I'm show up for there and I show up for her and love her and I'm present with her and kind and loving towards her and take care of her needs. Like, it doesn't, all that other stuff that I think that I would judge myself for, that other people might judge me for, doesn't actually matter. And hearing some inspiring stories of other people just helps you remember what matters and helps you remember that everything's temporary and we're all working with borrowed energy that returns back to the source anyway. So let's just have some fun while we're here. Let's not take it too seriously. And in times of feeling down, it really is helpful to look at some of these stories and remember, like, okay, we're all going through similar shit. Some people have it extremely rough, and then, things work out great for them after. So it gives you hope and inspiration for the future. And if you can have hope, then your day can be so much better because you'll take the actions rather than just sitting there. Like, if there's no hope, you might as well end it now. That's where I've been suicidal, because there is no hope. And J.K. Rowling basically says that's what the Dementors are in Harry Potter. The Dementors that's when there's no hope left. They're there to, like, they're sucking every last ounce of hope out, where you don't think life ever is going to be any better. So if you never think it's possible for life to be better, then it's pretty easy to just want to give up. But if there's even the slight inkling of, hey, things might not be like this forever, then you might just write that next chapter or send that DM or record that song, and that might just change your life. So never let go of hope. I love you guys so much. This ended up being a long, full-length episode. I thought it was going to be a mini episode. I might have said it was a mini episode at the beginning of this, but nevertheless, what this episode lacks in audio quality, I hope it made up for in inspiration and wisdom and just good vibes. When I say I'm sending you love, sending you good vibes, I hope you really feel that, because I really am. It's not just a figure of speech. I'm genuinely visualizing your being and sending you that energy from my heart through the quantum realm into your spirit. And, we're all connected. We're all one. So I hope you genuinely feel that energy. And again, I just really appreciate you guys spreading this word. If you're supporting me on Patreon, or shooting the link to someone, or just messaging me, telling me something that you enjoyed from the episode, like, you could send me one little message like, yo, I just got done listening to the episode number 40 whatever, and it was super inspiring, thank you. Just the simplest little message like that is actually a dope piece of content for me to use to market this thing. Or leaving me a review, and then I screenshot the review and post that. That helps. The reviews actually help me get seen in the algorithms for the podcast app, so other people that are interested in some of these type of topics will likely see it the more reviews I get. So that's like huge thank you if you can do that. But anything you guys do, the little pieces of content that I use from you guys to, like, post on my stories and show that other people are gaining value from this, it does help this thing grow, because people are like, every time I post one of your guys' like little messages that you send me, or one of your reviews, I'll get someone replying to that and saying, hey bro, I've been wanting to check that out, you should send me the link, because they see social proof. they see other people are liking it, so they don't want to miss out. They want to check it out too, and it's so much more powerful coming from someone like you rather than me, because of course I'm going to promote my own podcast and tell everyone, hey, go listen to this podcast. But if someone else says, hey, go listen to Burnell Washburn's podcast, super inspiring, then they're going to take that word so much more. That's why all advertisements and marketing campaigns usually have testimonials or reviews or whatever, because it just, it shows people that it's legit. So I really appreciate if you do that. And if you want to be an angel, savior, saint, God, goddess in my world, in my universe, helping me thrive, helping me and Ollie Sky live out our missions, you can go to patreon.com/Burnell Washburn and pitch some, $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can comfortably afford. That just goes a long way. It means so much. Helps pay for this message to reach more people. And I have big plans for this thing. We're just getting started. So the podcast studio is coming soon. When we start doing guests on season 2, your guys' minds are going to be blown. You're going to be in love, wanting to listen to every episode like 5 times each, because the people that I'm bringing on are just so amazing, and then you don't have to hear me ramble for an hour straight myself anymore, which is fun. But these guests are going to take it to a whole new level. And when I bring on the guests, I found like this agency that does mixing and mastering and editing for the podcast, so I'll be able to just send it off to them, and they'll be polishing it up to make it sound extra crisp rather than just me recording it on an iPhone and not doing anything to it. It's about to get a lot better, so keep spreading the love, spreading the good vibes, and go create an amazing rest of your day. You deserve all the blessings. You are worthy. You are loved. You are supported. Yes, it's a beautiful day. I love you so much from the bottom of my heart. Peace and blessings. I'll see you soon on another episode. Much love.